Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Attacking Two podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Funnell, and as always, I'm joined by fellow host Andy Martin, and today by returning guest and colleague from the Chelsea Echo, Simon Phillips, the one and only. Simon, lovely to have you here.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's good to be back.
And today we will be talking about, well, unfortunately, the Arsenal game. We'll be going into detail about Sarri's comments, what the team can do to come back after that game, and where the problems lie. And we'll also go into some detail regarding transfers and the question. Okay, right, guys. So I'd like to start this podcast on a more positive note, but unfortunately, we have to go into detail about the Arsenal game, which was horrendous in so many ways. But we did get a reaction from the manager. Sarri had some very spicy comments to say. I think they're even spicy or even more direct than what we've heard by Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte in the past. And the question, of course, that arises is, will he get the reaction he craves? Simon, what were your initial thoughts after full time, and what's your take on Sarri's comments?
First and foremost, it was a really difficult one to swallow. I think I watched the game, and I think I spent the whole game just waiting for Chelsea to turn up. I mean, the players didn't even show. The worst thing for me was second half when you're expecting. You always get periods in games where the players try a bit harder and have a good spell, but I don't think any Chelsea player can hold their hands up and said that they put 100% effort in. And for me, that was the biggest problem. And Sarri is absolutely right for calling them out for that. I don't have an issue with that at all. He's speaking about them not being motivated enough. The mentalities are weak, and I can't do anything else but agree with that. And he's been criticised by some for saying that, and he thinks that certain media outlets are saying that the players are going to react bad to those comments. But it had to be said, and I admire his straightforward talking, to be honest. I was angry when that game finished, and quite often I'll be the one with the positivity, but I didn't even take to Twitter to give my views because I was angry. I had to leave it for a while. But yeah, I mean, I back his comments. I really do. I think he's bang on to say what he said after the game.
And do you think he'll get the reaction he wants from the players, though? I mean, we know that these players are tricky, and supposedly, I've read today in the papers that they already are saying, well, he should have taken some of the blame as well. So would you say the right is Maurizio Sarri also to blame?
Yeah, well, I tweeted this morning, actually, because Matt Law's article is the one you're on about from the Telegraph. And yeah, he like you say, he said that some of the players, they might react badly to that, and there's slight discontent arising. But at the same time, Miguel Delaney from The Independent put out an article yesterday explaining how all the players were backing Sarri. They were enjoying his training regime and they were happy with how it was going. And obviously David Luiz, with his quotes, came out last night backing Sarri as well. But back to your question, I don't know if we're going to get a positive reaction. I think it all depends on the players' personality and individuality, if they react in the right way or not. I think probably 70-80% of them will, but then you're always going to get that handful as well that probably won't. I mean, the players like Cahill and Drinkwaters and players like that, I know they're not in the squad, but them not playing and Sarri phasing them out is going to have a negative effect on some of the other players who might be closer to those players, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. No, I understand, yeah. That's a good point, actually. That those on the fringes can still have quite an influence. So it'd be best actually to ship them out as soon as possible. But Andy, what's your take? I mean, I'm just going to ask you the same questions because they are so important at this moment in time.
I don't even think it's these players on the fringes or these players don't getting a look in that are our first worry at this time. Not even from a standpoint of positivity or negativity in the club. I think there's an awful lot of players in positions they shouldn't be in, regarding the quality they are delivering to us and regarding their whole take on the game. I think I was shocked by the mentality of some players in that game. Not only that, we were always second favorite in some of the battles in the field, and some players seemed to be somewhere else with their heads. Not only because of that, but it seemed like they just don't want to go the extra yard. They're not prepared to do so. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to leaders, and there's not enough leaders in our team. But then I think also outside effects, taking some players into places they don't want to be in when you get criticized from outside, like Jorginho does. And Jorginho is meant to be the regista, the one director of the whole game on the field, and he seems to be a little bit off the boil and takes his effects on the whole squad. So you don't have really an outstanding player or an outstanding character when the storm comes upon you that stands up and goes into the right direction and tears the other ones into the right direction. It's more kind of like when everyone plays good, but when we're playing bad, there's not that single player that makes a difference for us. And that's the worry, because we've always had characters like this, and it seems to be like the first time since ever, maybe since the bad Mourinho season we've had, that there is not a single player who can make the difference for us when we are in trouble. And of course, regarding the top 4 chances and everything, that is a worry for me.
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, I can only agree with you on that we haven't got the leaders. That spine that we had, we relied on that for so long, that after it more or less disappeared, I think with Terry disappeared, leaving the club, I think that was the last really big part of that spine that left, and we haven't been able to replace it. So the question is, how do we continue now? Where do we go from here? I mean, the thing is, we're still in 4th. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't want to say it is, but the thing is, we need a reaction on Thursday, and Sarri's comments will have certainly rattled a few of the players. And I mean, as Simon said, with maybe 70-80% of the players, they will do it. They will try and react. First of all, the question is, are they even able to react? In regard to, for example, Marcos Alonso, that was one of the worst games I've ever seen him play, and he's had some really bad, shocking performances in recent history. And who are those 20% then? That's the second part. So who will those 20% of the players be, which have already in the past, well, I don't want to say the rats, as they were called during that 2015-16 season, but there are some personalities in that team which just, even though they're only 20%, for example, now, they can really shatter any kind of motivation, any kind of momentum, what one tries to build up. So that seems problematic to me. Well, the thing is now, how can we improve on the field? Because compared to the first few months, there are differences. Simon, what can Sarri do, but what can the players specifically now do to get immediately this momentum going again, to pick up some form?
Well, I think the short answer to that is convert the possession that they're getting, because I mean we're still bossing games, we're still having all that possession, but like everyone is pointing out, we're not doing anything with it. I think first and foremost, they need to score goals. I don't see too many issues with that at the minute. And Sarri himself has said that he's still not happy that they've learnt his system well enough yet. And I think with the addition of a striker, I hate to keep saying, Higuain's going to be the answer to all our problems, because he isn't. I mean, it's a big responsibility to put on his shoulders for a start. He's definitely going to help. But I want to see Sarri just take a few more chances. Start Hudson-Odoi, for example, and give different players an opportunity to come in and play better. And if they play better, leave them in there. To me, he's not being brave enough at the minute with his decisions and changing the tactics in the game. His substitutions are too late. Bringing on Hudson-Odoi far too late. The only player on that bench, in my opinion, that could have changed the game at Arsenal was him. Brought him on far too late. He makes the same predictable changes with, Kovacic going off for Barkley or the other way around. And I think a lot of the teams know how to deal with it at the minute, because they're not switching it up. They're not changing things around. They're not playing different players. They know exactly the 11 he's going to start every game. And it is predictable. It's easy to mark Jorginho out of the game. It's easy to target Hazard as well, which a lot of teams do. They put 2 or 3 on him. They kick him all game. And we haven't got anyone else that will take the reins then when Hazard's being targeted or Jorginho's being marked. Yeah. There's no one else there that will step up mentally or ability-wise. And I think that's the big issue at the minute.
I mean, I agree that getting Higuain in will solve quite a few of our problems. Of course, the goal-scoring issue. But the thing is, as the problem that has been omnipresent in the last few weeks has been that once they single out Jorginho, take him out of the game, we have no answer to that. And even if we do have a striker, then that won't save us from when they press Jorginho and then more or less disrupt our game from the back. So, as you said, teams know how we play. We're predictable, even with Higuain in that side. I mean, in the first few months, we were pressing, or not initially, but after some time, we started to press really for long periods of the game. We were more decisive. Our passing was quick. Now I don't know what's happened. It's not Sarri ball. We saw glimpses of Sarri ball for a few weeks / months. And we thought, wow, we're off to a flying start. And now it's been like it's regressed. And I don't get that. I would have rather had the first few months be crap and then gradually get into this whole system. Like, for example, it was the case with other clubs or Napoli, here in Sarri at Napoli. But this is very worrying. I mean, Andy, what do you think we could do otherwise, especially in regard to getting the players to press again? Because that is a big part of Sarri.
I think the problem is that we are not doing the basics right. Once we had our woes and we had our problems going into games, we try fancy stuff. We try going back to play, let's say, counter ball. We don't do the basics right. The instrumental things that we've done right in the first few games of the season, and the way we kind of, I wouldn't say fell in love with Sarri ball, but at least we was quite happy watching the first few games of this season. And it tells you the whole story when you watch the stats of Arsenal against Chelsea. You see that we have more possession, way more possession than them, but there's barely any decent chances, like shots that are not blocked, and then shot accuracy is woeful. And then again, it's not enough possession in the last third. So because you've said Jorginho is getting marked out of the game, and that is obviously a downfall to our whole system. Jorginho tends to get deeper and deeper as he wants to get possession, as he wants to get his game going. But that, however, does have negative effects on the whole game, on the whole system, because Jorginho isn't in the places he should be. The distances between certain players are too big. Then you can't play the passes you should have. You should be prepared to play, and then the whole system gets torn apart and nothing works. So I think it's back to basics. I think it needs Sarri needs more creativity. I agree with Simon there, and I also think that 1 or 2 changes in personnel need to be taken, not only from the bench but also from the start. And Higuain can only do us a massive favor in there, because once we have a proper striker in the middle who can, I mean, Eden Hazard can hold up a ball, but he's not the wonder guy who can do everything. And he is what is he? 5'7", 5'8". He's not prepared to be the centre striker who plays against 2 or 3 centre halves who are always on his case. You just can't demand that from him. And it also takes a lot of his best qualities away if you play him in that position. And maybe it's time to move him back to the left wing and play a proper striker down the middle. And that I can't demand the team to actually make one change and everything works again. And I don't think that is realistic. But however, it's worth a try, and it can only be better than against Arsenal.
So you mentioned an important thing there, reinforcements. I mean, transfer window started very well with the signing of Christian Pulisic. You know, whatever we think of him, you know, I've been open about not being a big fan of his, but you know, we signed him, so he's Chelsea boy now, and we splashed the cash. But since then, it's dried up. I mean, this Higuain deal, I know it's very complicated, but it's been dragging on for weeks now. The Paredes deal seems to be off. I mean, Simon, do you expect us to make any other signings other than Higuain now in this window, which could lift the team? Because these kind of signings do lift the team.
Yeah, we definitely need a midfielder, and Sarri's obviously said that as well. He wants to replace Fabregas, and I think from his comments, he clearly doesn't think anyone in his current squad is capable of doing that at the moment.
Sorry, Simon.
Sorry,
I have to interrupt you. It's just gotten to be official that Alvaro Morata joined Atletico Madrid.
Yes. Fabrizio Romano's just tweeted that out, hasn't he?
Yeah. Is it not really official then? Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just thought that it was already officially confirmed.
No, I think the deal's done, but obviously it's not announced yet.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, my mistake. Then please do continue with.
No, that's all right. Paredes. I think. I don't think we've heard the last of that deal, to be honest, because I know PSG went in for him as well, and it's gone quiet the last day or two. So I think, I think Chelsea might still, because according to most, they agreed terms with him. It was just the fee that they didn't agree.
Yeah.
And then a couple of people said that Chelsea backtracked and didn't even know whether they were going to sign another midfielder or not. But like I just said, I think we might hear some more about that. If not, then I still think we'll sign another midfielder.
Because I mean, Zenit apparently wants now like upwards of 50 million euros, so 55 or something like that, which will maybe have complicated things due to PSG joining the race. So if we don't sign Paredes, although you know I'm an ardent supporter of doing so. Who else is there? Barella won't be leaving. It seems as if he will be joining Inter if at all, because of the whole family issues. What else can we do? I mean, our strikers aren't scoring goals. Kovacic has been poor in the last few games he's been in. I know he came back from injury, but he's been poor. What do we do? I mean, Simon, are there any other options that we've been linked to?
There's been nothing else solid, has there, really, for the midfielder position? And I think it's as it's such a specific type of player that Sarri seems to want anyway. I don't know if the board share that opinion, but Sarri wants someone for the Jorginho backup. And like I mentioned last week on Twitter, how many players are going to want to come in knowing that they're going to be a backup to Jorginho? How many good quality players are around that are going to want to do that? I don't think very many at all, and that's why there's a lack of names being mentioned for that role at the moment. So I don't know whether the board has a different opinion to Sarri. He's talked about putting Ethan Ampadu there. He says he's not ready yet, but he might be down the line. But I don't know. Kovacic, maybe. I don't know what you guys think about that. Could he back up Jorginho?
Well, that actually, I'll ask that straight away to you, Andy, because I can remember you actually proposing something.
Yeah, I think it was 2 months ago that I proposed Kovacic moving back to that position because I liked the way he's carrying the ball, and he's also he's maybe not as good of a passer as Jorginho is, but or as Fabregas was, but at least he's someone who's very good with the ball on his feet. Reminds me of a Tony Kroos, and Tony Kroos plays a deep lying position a system that is not very similar. But the Zidane days at Real Madrid, he was that player who always had the right first touch, moving the ball around, very barely loses the ball, and I think that's a good basis for a system that is based on possession. Does he move the ball quickly enough? Because that is the question that is the most obvious for me, as we are moving the ball not quickly enough at this moment in time. Maybe so, maybe not. But thinking about Kovacic moving back, then Jorginho can't play really a different position, so that puts Jorginho out of the team and frees up one place in the midfield. And maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek down the line, not now because he's injured, can take the position. Ruben Loftus-Cheek offers something completely different, offers some physical presence, offers some even goal scoring from midfield. He had a very good few games where he scored an immense amount of goals. Also in the Europa League, which doesn't mean as much as in the proper competition, but nevertheless. So I think that would actually be also a change that we would want to take, but unfortunately can't take at this moment in time.
Well, the thing is, and I think this is important to mention, if we do think about using Kovacic, first of all, I don't think that Sarri will contemplate that because Jorginho is his boy, more or less, which is a problem. Second thing is that during that period, what I was talking about, that we were just, pressing and it was just all working much better. We also had our players only have the ball, take one or two touches, pass it. Now it's been like 5-6 touches that we have on average. So the question is, can Kovacic do that? I mean, Jorginho is having problems, but something he can do is that just, it's in his head. The pass is already made before he's even kicked the ball. So could Kovacic do that, in your opinion, Simon?
I don't think he'd be as good, like you both touched on, with the quick passing, one touch and releasing. I think he'd be very comfortable in that position, receiving the ball. But I can see him probably, because he's more natural dribbling the ball, I can see him trying to do that to get out of trouble rather than the one-touch passing. But another thing with that, if he's going to back up Jorginho, that would mean that they wouldn't want him playing in most of the games because they'd want him fresh to come in as a rotation. So that means that he wouldn't be starting a lot of the Premier League games. But yeah, I mean, it is an idea that I'm not against as such. I think it could work, but in answer to your original question, I don't know whether he'd be as good, as comfortable doing the one-touch passing.
I mean, yeah. I think something that Andy also touched upon with Loftus-Cheek, I mean, he does give us something different, and I think with him playing in that midfield, he can also unlock Jorginho, because if Jorginho isn't, if he's getting pressed, he gives it to Loftus-Cheek, and Loftus-Cheek can tank up front, because that's something which was missing, in my opinion, versus Arsenal, that there was no one who was able to carry that ball from deep line playing position up front. It was really, really aggravating, and Kovacic can do that, but he didn't. And I didn't understand that, which is also a contributing factor to why I thought he was very poor. Loftus-Cheek does that. We need him back ASAP. And the thing is, who else we could bring in then? Sorry, Andy, yes.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing to that. I think when you look at other creative players or the players that are the heart of their team, like a Christian Eriksen at Tottenham, and what they do when they get locked down in double marking or something, they move to different places on the field. And that is obviously, you can say that's the downside to Sarri ball, that it is an extremely static system. And you know that Jorginho has to be, the center part has to more or less always be in kind of 20 yards around the center circle, that he has always to be there, being the linker player from the left to the right. But maybe, and that is something Sarri can think about, he can maybe in the triangle in the middle change up the positions for 5 minutes or something, move, let's say, a Ruben Loftus-Cheek from the left side down to the register role, play Jorginho as the left, and then kind of mind bobble the other side, thinking about, whoa, where's Jorginho going now that the two markers have to go to the left side and freeze up the middle and something, and then move it back, is something would be something Sarri can think about, because it's way too easy to stop our machine rolling.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, that's why I also think Paredes would be perfect for us. I mean, there was also this other link. Simon, help me out here. I think a Slovakian midfielder.
Yeah, I was trying to think of his name a minute ago. It's completely gone from my mind.
Yeah, me too. Mine too, because I'm not sure anymore I'm not even sure which club he plays. I know that PSG has also been interested in him. Is it maybe from Seville? Is he from Seville?
I don't know. I'm thinking. I thought it was in Serie A. I'm not sure. Cagliari or something? No, that's the other.
That's Barella. Yeah.
That's Barella. Yeah. No, it's gone from my mind. If I could get onto my Twitter, I could tell you in 2 seconds.
I think Andy's currently having a look.
Mm.
But
it died a death anyway. That rumor. I think it came out, and then like you say, PSG were interested, but that was probably 3 or 4 days ago now, and haven't heard anything since then. But
that's true.
You know, it's the transfer window. You could hear a brand new name tomorrow morning, and then sign him by the evening. Anything can happen.
That's very true. You know, the only worrying thing is I couldn't think of a midfielder that would fit the bill. You know, what all the characteristics that we would need at this moment, and would be also available, and you know, price wise not over the top. So that's a worry.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, and like you say that, and like I said earlier, who's going to come in and want to be a backup to Jorginho? I mean, there is the argument that could he challenge Jorginho for his position, but like you said earlier, Jorginho is Sarri's player, is his main cog to his system. Yeah. Even though, you know, he's getting doubted by so many people at the minute, he's not going to get dropped by Sarri, is he? Let's be honest.
No, that is the thing. I mean, best case scenario is we'd find a midfielder who can play that role very well, but also can play as that left central midfielder and score lots of goals.
Yeah,
whoever that is, but that would be the perfect signing that we'd need in midfield right now. Whether that be Barella or not is up for debate. But I mean, that yes, Andy.
I just want because Simon slightly touched upon this. The comments from Rio Ferdinand on BT Sport regarding Jorginho. I just want to ask you a question. Obviously, I think as we are Chelsea fans, and we, with no disrespect, understand a little bit more about Sarri ball than Rio Ferdinand does, and how integral the part of Jorginho is there. Is any criticism that has been put forward due criticism, in your opinion, regarding he doesn't offer anything defensively, he hasn't contributed an assist, and so on and so forth? Do you think it's fair criticism on Rio Ferdinand, Simon? On Jorginho?
Well, I think he's not playing well. I mean, even Sarri said that he's not playing well, and Sarri's touched upon the fact that he's tired. So I mean, it's obvious to see that I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh no, he's having a great season, because he's not. He's not playing well. But I mean, is that because he's the only one that knows the system? And is that because he's the only one that, you know, he hasn't got players in the right positions to pass the ball to at the right time? I don't know. But another thing is, I don't think. I mean, I'm no expert in Italian football, but I did my research when Sarri came, and I read about the style of football that he likes to play, and he needs that orchestrator in that position in midfield. And I don't think a lot of people understand how important that role is for his system to work. And at the minute, it's obviously working against him, because Jorginho is playing poor as well as the system not working. That everything's pointing, you know, in the direction of Jorginho being poor, which we all know he isn't. You know, people that have watched him enough know his quality. But I think, just based on the fact that the system isn't working how Sarri wants it to at the minute, and people's opinion of Jorginho and not really reading up on the system that they're trying to play, a lack of knowledge there, I think, is playing a real big problem in people's opinions on him.
I couldn't agree any more with with what Simon said. So, I mean, spot on. That is the question. I don't know. It's hard to think that we can't unlock the full potential of Jorginho right now because the teams have figured us out. But I think that is on Sarri to find a possibility, a plan B, a solution. Whether that be a change of system, which I'm not necessarily in favour of, or anything else, letting Kante come a bit further back and help him out. I don't know, but that is a question that we will be addressing also in our second part with Aidan, also known as Addicted to CFC, fellow writer at the Chelsea Echo, of course, as we will be diving into our second part in just a moment. That also ends our first part. So, Simon, thank you again for coming on. It's lovely to have you back. I hope you enjoyed our little talk.
Lovely. Yeah, thanks, guys. Really enjoyed that one.
Cheers, mate. And we very much enjoyed speaking with you, of course. As always, please do follow Simon on Twitter, on the social media. What's your Twitter handle again, Si?
It's at Simon Phillips Sport.
Yes, exactly. If you want to stay in touch with all the latest transfer rumours, all the latest things about everything Chelsea, then do give Simon a follow. I can only warmly recommend doing so. Also, give us a follow at the Chelsea Echo and, of course, us at the Attacking too. The Twitter handles will be in the description below. And I think we can conclude our first half of it here, and we'll see you soon.